Hello, and I am Mrs. Alston. I am so happy that you could listen with me today as I go over some brief facts of ancient Egyptian art. Now, I am by no means an expert, and I would love to hear any information or facts that you may know that I don't cover in this video. I always love to learn, and so I would love for you to just leave me a comment and tell me what you know about ancient Egyptian art or just about ancient Egypt, period. Today I want to talk about some characteristics of ancient Egyptian art, and then we're going to look at two specific art pieces with you. Now, ancient Egyptian art was originally created for religious and magical purposes. So when we look back at ancient Egyptian art, and we can see their beliefs about the world and how they attempted to understand and relate to it. Now, this is awesome and amazing because this is what art does for us. It allows us to see into the lives of different people. And we are still doing that today. People create art today to relate to the world around them. So when we look at Egyptian art, I want to just go over some commonalities that we can see. So Egyptian art is very balanced. They have balanced forms and composition, so how things are laid out. And we can see clear contour lines, or the outlines, contour means outline, and simplified shapes. And we can also see that figures and scenes were arranged in horizontal rows, so very orderly. When we look at Egyptian art, we can see how they focused on permanent features, and so we don't see the fleeting features of expressions, so we don't see a lot of emotion. Now, there was a time where that changed, but I'm going over for most part, generalities. We also don't see the illusion of shadow to create space. So you're not seeing shadows or light used to create space or depth. Egyptian art focused on the ideal form in the body. When creating and depicting people, it was very important to draw every aspect of the human form. And so this is why we see artists who worked on the 2D surface, two-dimensional surface, have different points of view as we stare at a body. The shoulders are seen from the front, and then the torso and the hips turn in a 3/4 view so that the legs and arms can be seen in profile. The head is also shown in profile. This is so that we can simultaneously display the back and the front of the head, where at the front we can still see the nose and the mouth. Now, the eye is not drawn in profile. The eye is drawn as if it is looking directly at the viewer. Now, because you can't be in my classroom, I have asked my two daughters to help me with this next part. Now, normally I would have you doing this with me as I taught it to you in class. So Egyptian artists had ideal forms of standards. And what this means is that certain poses meant certain things. So you could stare at the pose and know the meaning behind it. Now, can you think of anything in our world where you can look at it and know the meaning behind it? Any image or icon? In this first image, we see my daughter has both arms extended forward with hands upraised. And this was the standard for worshiping. I would love it if you stood up and made these poses with me. One of the reasons why I say this is because when we use our bodies, it's working with our brains, and then we can remember things better. So if you stand up and you extended your hands upraised, this was the standard for worshiping. Now, in this next image, we can see both arms are extended forward with an object held in one hand, though this could have been an object being held in both hands. And what do you think this means? This pose was the standard for offering or presenting. So someone who would be offering or presenting food or a gift to either a ruler or a god, this is the pose that they would be in. And next we have a seated figure with one or both arms resting on your lap. And your palms are down. So the palms are down in your lap. And this is the pose that says that you are ready to receive an offering. When we see one arm extended forward with the palm open, can you think of what that could possibly mean? Maybe if you are doing it with us, it gives you a kind of feeling. What does it feel like you are doing in this pose? Well, this pose was the standard for summoning. And summoning is calling to you. The ancient Egyptian artists and people also had a standard for protection. And so as you can see, when your arms are extended out from your sides with the palms facing forward, this shows protection. This next image shows both arms extended out at the sides again, but this time the palms are turned away from the body. This was the standard for rejoicing. Now, what do you think praising looks like? What stance would your body be in for praising? Well, the ancient Egyptian standard for praising was crouching down on one knee with one arm raised and the other held against the chest in a clenched fist. The last standard I am going to talk about looks like this, with both arms raised and palms are turned towards the face. What do you think this meant? How does this feel if you are doing it? How does this feel as you stand in this pose? This pose was the standard for mourning. I would love to be able to just sit here all day and talk about Egyptian art and all the facts and nuances that there are, but we cannot. And so I would like to move on to the first piece of artwork that we are going to study together. And this first piece of ancient Egyptian art that we are going to look at is a limestone relief that was originally on a back wall inside a small chapel built by Seti I. And he built it for Ramses I. Well, Seti reigned from 1290 BC to 1279 BC. Now, once again, I am not an expert on anything Egyptian. I am just a huge fan. So I might be getting these names incorrect. So if I am, just let me know. Leave me a comment. Like I said, I am always wanting to learn and grow and figure out new things. Now, if we look at the artwork, if you're just looking at it, what can you see? What stands out to you? One way that I like for my students to look at artwork and to see it better is to make a drawing of it themselves. And I also do this when I am doing a study of art. When we draw the image, we actually look closer and see things that maybe our eyes would have just skipped over or skimmed over. And this forces us to slow down and look for the details. And this also helps train our eyes to see all the minute details that we might have missed. This will come in handy when we do still life drawings and when we do landscapings, honestly, when we draw anything. So I want you to pause this video and I want you to sketch out everything that you can see. Now, this is the actual wall, so it's kind of broken and it's been fixed in places. So even if you can't quite make out the details, just do the best you can. What I want you to do is I want you to look and see what you can find. So go ahead, pause the video, and draw. And I'll see you back here when you're done. All right. Now, if we look at our drawing and we look at the art that's on the video, we can see that the scene is divided down the center. So we have a right side and we've got a left side. And we're going to talk about the right side first. And on the right side, we see Ramses, and he kneels and presents an offering of food and flowers to a symbol of Osiris. And the symbol of Osiris resembles a head covered with a cloth, and it's surmounted by 2 tall ostrich plumes. Osiris was the Egyptian god of the afterlife and rebirth. He ruled the netherworlds, and his son Horus ruled the world of the living. Every reigning pharaoh was identified with Horus and was thus thought to become one with Osiris after death. The figure we see on the right side that is standing is Isis, and Isis is the wife of Osiris. In one hand, you can see that she holds an ankh, and this is a symbol of life. So and she's got the other hand raised up in a gesture of protection. On the left side, we see something that is nearly identical in pose. We see Seti, and he kneels and presents a small statue of himself offering a jar. He also presents this to the symbol of Osiris. And on this side, the figure we see is Horus, the son of Isis and Osiris. He also holds an ankh in his hand, and he raises his other hand in a symbol of what? Yes, protection. He's holding his hand in the symbol of protection also. This is a very symmetrical piece with our poses. It is very well balanced on one side and the next. You can also see a lot of the hieroglyphics behind there. And I would love to spend some time talking about those. But in another video, I am going to go in depth on Egyptian hieroglyphics. The next piece of artwork that we're going to look at is actually a facsimile, or it's a copy. And it's a copy of a wall painting from the tomb of Minna. This piece of art is called Minna and His Family, Fishing and Fowling. And this is from the 18th dynasty, 1400 to 1350 BC. The artist, Nina de Garis Davies, recreated the original image with tempera paint on paper in 1924. She was a very gifted artist that was able to reproduce the very brushstrokes of the ancient painters. The Egyptians believed that the pleasures of their life could be made permanent through scenes like this one. So in this painting, Mina, the largest figure, is shown twice. He spears fishing on the right and flinging throwing sticks at birds on the left. The second largest figure is his wife, and his daughter and son are with him also. Okay, so remember, in Egyptian art, size matters. How big a figure was directly related to how important they were. So the bigger the figure, the more important. The smaller the figure, the less important. So in this painting, who was the most important figure? Yeah, Mina was. So continuing to look at this painting, you can see that the sun is on the left and he's pointing a finger at 2 predators as they are about to steal the eggs. Well, pointed fingers were a magical gesture for averting evil in ancient Egypt. And considering those predators are trying to steal those eggs, it could definitely be a sign that he is trying to avert that evil. he's also drawing attention to what is happening. When we look at this scene, we can see that it is more than one point of view. The figures, as we have seen before and as I talked about earlier, are portrayed in both the front and the profile so that you can see every aspect of their bodies. The water, though, is seen from above as if you're looking down upon it. And yet, the aquatic animals are seen in profile so that you can see all of their bodies. The sizes of the wildlife also indicate their importance, because remember, size matters. As you can see, the two fish that Mina is about to spear are way larger than that nearby crocodile. So he is going to get a really good catch. Every object in this painting is very clear. The horizontal organization of this composition is very well balanced. The figures are within two horizontal rows and face towards the center in nearly identical groupings. The forms are clearly defined by outlines set against that white background. Now remember, one of the characteristics of Egyptian drawings and paintings and sculpture is that contour line, that outline that is clearly defined. What else are some things that you can see in these two pieces of artwork? What are some things that interest you about these two pieces of artwork? Feel free to leave comments. I would love to know what interests you. I would love to find out what you saw that I did not talk about. I hope this video was helpful. I hope we learned something about Egyptian art, and I look forward to walking you through hieroglyphics. Until next time, be artsy.